guys, and welcome back to the podcast. So I guess you can say spooky season is kind of over, but I do want to talk about another movie, other than Jaws, or should I say, like, Jaws wasn't the only film that came out in 1975 that's having a 50th anniversary celebration. And yes, Jaws is an all-timer classic. Nobody's gonna deny that. There is another classic, like I said, that came out in 1975 having its 50th anniversary celebration. And that movie is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Now, I briefly kind of mentioned it when I was talking about it. Because if y'all need a refresher, you can either just go back to, the recent episode, or if you're just hearing me for the first time, or you're just scrolling through episodes and this is like the first one you find because it's probably the first one that you see that's like, oh, the new released one. So let me explain. Tim Curry, we all know, played it, and or Pennywise is what they call it, but the real, and I mean the real character that everybody knows was Tim Curry, that they resonate with, is Dr. Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That's the character everybody goes to when they think of Tim Curry, because like the Rocky Horror Picture Show is definitely, like, I would say not the pinnacle, but it's like the start or in the early stages of what I would call queer cinema. Anybody that's like, a member or a supporter of the LGBT plus community or LGBTQ plus community, just like given through, recent, political times and stuff like that. But overall, if I just separate it as like a part of the queer cinema and stuff like that, I still see it as a really well-made film. As someone who's not a huge fan of musicals, and also somebody who is also not a huge fan of weird stuff, and trust me guys, there's a lot of weird stuff in this movie, because like this movie it's supposed to be like a B movie kind of. Well, first of all, it's actually like, it was based off of, what was it? It was based off of a stage production that also had Tim Curry on it. Tim Curry played Frankenfurter in the stage production, I believe 2 years prior, before they decided to make a film adaptation of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But I think it's like, no matter what, it's that character that like people are like, no matter what, they can't replace that, or they can't remake that movie because Tim Curry is the only one that could play Frankenfurter, which is true. Like a lot, that's true. I mean, what am I supposed to do, deny that? I mean, so I'm not going to talk about the plot of the film as some people might think I do. The reason being is because I haven't seen that movie in like quite a long time. And then not only that, I mean, I don't even know where I could find the movie at, but I think there's just more than just talking about the plot of Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you want to know, it's like the parody of Frankenstein. It's that Frankenstein-esque story where it involves a transvestite scientist. Though I know nowadays transvestite is a very old term, but that's what he is in the movie as well as in the stage adaptation. Frankenfurter is a transvestite scientist who wants to create himself a husband, and the witnesses are this couple named Brad and Janet, and there's just a lot more to it than that. And why I should talk about this now is not only because it's 50 years since the movie came out, and like I said, I'm not politically on the queer side. With all that aside, the reason being why I'm talking about this now is because not too long ago, Tim Curry came out with an interview. And if y'all don't know the full story, like I say, if you want to go back to when I was talking about it, you can. But just to save y'all some trouble of like trying to skim through that part of the episode where it's like, what do I do from here? Or not, where do I go from here? Is what I meant to say. I'll just explain it again. I think back in like the early 2010s or late 2000s, Tim Curry had, I believe, a stroke, and it left him unable to walk, and he had a hard time speaking. And through time, I mean, he just had to, since then, he's been wheelchair bound. He can barely move. I know I said he probably could walk the last episode. I fact checked myself after that, and no, he can't. So if I made some false information there, I do apologize, especially for anything I said in the past. But, you're only given, certain stories, sometimes never the full truth. But to my point, he just went in and did this interview and he's talking about like how, he knows his time is coming. I believe he's only 79 years old. He's about to be 80 next year, hopefully. he does turn 80, but talks about like how he's not afraid of death, how he knows his time is coming. And that's always a hard thing to talk about, just because like I've had family members who have passed, who've said like their times are coming. I've lived a good life, and that's a tough thing to hear, especially if like you've heard, like, you've seen the guy's career from then on. You get what I mean? Because now we're like in that Christmas time where you're gonna see Home Alone 2. I mean, they're already airing it by the time I'm recording this, and he was in Home Alone 2 where he played, the manager of the plaza. That's owned by somebody that's in the news a lot more and will be in the news for quite a while. But I mean, he's a very interesting actor. I wish he does more, but obviously, given his condition, that he can't. And I guess for this first half, I'm probably just gonna talk about Tim Curry, because why not? Let me talk about actually when I met Tim Curry, and it was only for a brief 2 seconds. It was with my sister. So my older sister and I wanted to go to this event called Texas Frightmare, which is still happening. And like I said, hopefully I can do Frightmare next year, because next year is probably going to be my last year doing conventions and stuff like that. Again, just to save you all some trouble, because I mentioned it while I'm planning on stopping that. I'm actually at the point where it's like I'm going to start putting my life back and getting a great job, and finding the right person, because none of that comes cheap, and neither do conventions. But my older sister and I decided we wanted to meet Tim Curry because he was going to be in Dallas, and my sisters, they do live in Dallas, Texas. And we were just debating on what to do. And it came to the point where we decided just to do a photo op. And for the convention world, if y'all don't know, a photo op is just basically you're taking a photo with the celebrity by professional photographers. They just cost a lot more, because if you ever some famous people, they don't do photos at their booth, at their autograph booth. Some will say if you want a photo with that person, you have to do a celebrity photo op, which, by the way, it just depends on the person. I think Tim's was like $100. I mean, that's just from like the regular pricing, and I think it add on with the tax and stuff like that. But my sister and I were like, I guess we got to meet him, and there he was, wheelchair bound, but just, I mean, he didn't speak, but he just says hello to people with his eyes. It's like, you get what I mean? Like, you don't have to say hello to somebody. You just give them that look of like, hi. And I remember in line, we saw this one girl who was like just in tears. You get what I mean? Because it's Tim Curry, but I guess it's also like seeing him in that condition. But yeah, we were just like excited. We just took a photo with him, and yeah, my sister let me keep the photo. I think we made copies. I honestly do not remember, but yeah. And then before that, I think maybe 2 years before that, there was another convention in San Antonio. Tim Curry wasn't here for this one, but it was Nell Campbell. And if y'all don't know who Nell Campbell is, Nell Campbell again appeared in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And well, I guess I'm making this about how I met some of the other actors too. But Nell Campbell played Columbia, who is described as a groupie in both the stage production as well as in the movie. If y'all don't know what a groupie is a woman who likes to hang around with the artists and stuff like that, and does a lot more. And she's super fascinated with Frankenfurter, but as well as with a guy named Eddie. So there was Nell Campbell, and then there was Patricia Quinn. Patricia Quinn played Magenta. Is it Magenta or Magenta? I can never remember. But she played the sister of Riff Raff, who is the butler, and Magenta, I believe, is the maid. Well, they label it here as domestic servant, but it's a maid. I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna take. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm never really a huge fan of this film. Like I said, it's been years since I've seen it, but I also was like, why not talk about it? You get what I mean? Even if I'm not a huge fan of this movie, it's still a classic. Might as well just talk about it. But it was a convention called the Rockula Horror Expo, which only happened that year, and that was also the same year I met the great Tony Todd. I hold that photo of him to this day, man. I haven't gotten it framed yet. Every time I got a new phone, I've always kept like passing that picture off to the current phone. So I gotta get that framed. And I have an autograph from him when he voiced Zoom in The Flash. But the Rockula Horror Expo only happened that year. I wish it continued on, but I don't know. I don't know what happened there. But it was I think Barry Bostwick was supposed to be there, but he postponed. He was at another convention this year, but I didn't get a chance to see him just because of money issues and stuff like that. But when I went there, I was like, you know what? My sister really, really loves the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like, she loves that. I'm gonna get some autographs for her. So I got the autographs of Nell, and then I got the autograph from Patricia. And then when Christmas time came around, I framed them. I gave them to her. She was super excited about that. I also got her an autograph of Matthew Lillard. She really loves Matthew Lillard. I mean, who doesn't love Matthew Lillard? I mean, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo, obviously Scream, and 13 Ghosts. What's the other one? What was the other one? Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, no, I got those autographs for my sister. Since it's like my final year's coming up, I figure, you know what? I think maybe next year, depending on what celebrities that most of my family members like, I think I'm just gonna buy them some autographs. Depending on how much I got in my accounts. But because I say like it's probably gonna be my last year, and like I said, maybe like in 27 I might do, because the Wonderland of America Mall in San Antonio, Texas does mini cons, but they're not big. Maybe I could do those in 27 to kind of accommodate for 2020, the missing year when I couldn't do that because of COVID. Yeah, no, they were very interesting. They were very cool to meet. I was called a good brother to my sister. I have two of them, by the way. One has autographs, one doesn't. I mean, well, it's also kind of hard because like it's like, what is she like? And then some of the stuff she does like isn't really like actors who aren't there for those conventions. So I don't know, maybe. I mean, I could have done what was it, Jason Isaacs, who played Lucius Malfoy, but man, Jason Isaacs was $100 just to meet him. And I was like, I don't have any more $100 bills to spare for him because I still got other people I gotta meet. Like I said, Tim Curry is a legend. I mean, he if you grew up watching Nickelodeon's The Wild Thornberry, he was the dad from The Wild Thornberry, which I didn't even know. And he did a lot of voice acting. So give me a second. Actually, a little interesting fact. Tim Curry, before Mark Hamill came along to play the Joker, Tim Curry was legit like the first person, or maybe not the first person, but an alternative. And they were already recording him for one episode of him playing the Joker. You could actually find that online. Like, you could literally find Tim Curry Joker, and then Tim just couldn't do it. Or I don't know the full story. I just know they couldn't, Tim just wasn't there anymore. And then eventually Mark Hamill took over the role, and well, the rest is history, because Mark Hamill's he's really good as the Joker. Like, you can't really, it's like between him and Heath Ledger. You get what I mean? So give me a second here. So yeah, he was Palpatine for, I believe, 2 seasons of the Star Wars, The Clone Wars, The Wild Thornberry, like I mentioned, Nigel Thornberry. And hold on, let's see. I know, man, what's that one? Oh yeah, I forgot. He was Annie. What is it? It was like the brother of the foster mom, the evil foster mom. I think that's what his character was. Rooster, here you go. Yep, Rooster. He was Darkness and Legends. I have not seen that one, so if y'all seen it, let me know. Clue. And I think it's funny because it's like he plays Wadsworth in Clue. So he came out in Clue. And then he also came out in Scary Movie 2, which I'm excited for, the 6th film, by the way. And like we said, Home Alone 2, Long John Silver in The Muppets Treasure Island. I've never seen any adaptation of that book. If y'all don't know, that's a book by Robert Louis Stevenson, I believe. Hold on, give me a second. Yeah. Treasure Island, Robert Louis Stevenson. I just know because it's the same guy who wrote Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is one of my favorite books, by the way. And it's funny because the Muppets did, what did they do? It was A Christmas Carol, yeah. Yeah, forgive me, folks. I'm still trying to figure out, what is it? The character was called Hexus. I remember that. Okay, so I'm just looking through his bibliography. I'm just looking through his filmography. Dang, what is it called? Oh, okay. I forgot that he did, Fort in the Beauty and the Beast Christmas movie. I believe that was the organ. So, but where is it? I know it's here. Yeah, here it is. Ferngully, The Last Rainforest. That's what I was looking for. Dude, that was actually a very interesting film. I'm I don't even know how to describe it because I haven't seen that movie in like 20 years. Yeah, Fern Gelly, The Last Rainforest. He played Hexus. What is it? It was like a smoke monster that wants to destroy the rainforest or something like that. But yeah, there was a lot to Tim Curry's career. And I guess it's hard to imagine. And I'm saying this about any actor that passes away or grows old. Like, I mean, I've been watching Lord of the Rings again because I love those films and the Hobbit series. And then I've been watching people who haven't seen those movies on, like reacting to them, watching it for the first time on YouTube. And I just go back and I'm like, man, Ian McKellen is getting old. He's almost 90 and he's still planning on playing Gandalf again. But dude, it's just hard sometimes to believe it. But, I wish he could do more conventions. He probably does, but he's very limited from what I can tell, from what I believe. He's probably very limited just because of, where his condition is. But yeah, I mean, Rocky Horror Picture Show is actually a pretty interesting film. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend it. And yeah, we're going to take a break right now. And once we get back, we're going to talk about more. We're actually going to dive deep into the Rocky Horror. All right, and welcome back from break, everybody. So anyway, I'm not going to explain the plot of Rocky Horror Picture Show, just because I think it's just a film you should rather check out for yourself rather than just me butchering the plot, especially since I haven't seen it in such a long time. I mean, I think there are ways to find this film. Give me a second here. So yeah, it's on Hulu. I mean, I should have checked it. I should have checked it out first. I don't know for how long. It's only on Hulu when I'm recording this. But anyway, I more just want to talk about some of the songs and the impact of this film because let's just start it off. The guy who directed the film, Jim Sharman. The guy who directed the film, Jim Sharman. I believe this was his very, very first film. Hold on. Oh, so yeah, it was an indie film, which is very surprising. I would have thought this was a big studio film. But Jim Sharman did the original production and then eventually decided to do the film. And that's not surprising. And I'm not saying that like as if I know like Jim Sharman or whatever. I'm saying some films that have been adapted from something. There have been times where like the person who either wrote the book, did the play or whatever, decided to do a film adaptation of it. Clive Barker, the guy who wrote the original novel Candyman. And in case you didn't know this, Candyman was a novel and he actually wasn't black in the novel. That's just something Clive Barker allowed when they were making the film. They wanted to Americanize it. But yeah, no, he wasn't really black in the book, I believe. But Clive Barker didn't make the movie, by the way. Clive Barker also wrote Hellraiser, and he decided to do the film itself. And again, he kind of Americanized it a bit more for a broader audience. So it's not surprising that some people would wanna, like, who've written their own books, want to make their own film adaptation of it. And another interesting fact is that, like, Richard O'Brien, who played Riff Raff in, I believe, the play and in the movie, also co-created the film, and he wrote the screenplay with Jim. So it's, again, not surprising. Again, it's also not surprising that you get like actors who've played characters in a play to reprise their roles in film adaptations of it. Joel Grey, very famously for playing DMC in Cabaret, which I will eventually talk about later on in the season. Just wait for that one. But Joel Grey again played the MC in Cabaret, and then in the movie he played the character again. Joel Grey is the only guy who's ever won an Emmy and a Tony for playing the same character. And if your peaks are interested, you can look it up, and if you want to wait, but I'm going to be talking about it in February, but I will talk about Cabaret. So again, it's not that surprising. Who else? I think the actress who played Eponine in Les Miserables in one of the stage productions also played again Eponine in the 2012 production. I mean, it's pretty common. I know, what was it, Denzel Washington, when he did Fences, the cast of Fences that in the movie was the same cast of Fences in the play which Denzel Washington was a part of. Not the original production, but in a different production, he just had the same cast come back, probably except for like the sons. I could think of, but yeah, so it's pretty common for that to happen. And like I said, like Tim Curry's the only guy we all know that can only play Frankenfurter, because that's Tim Curry's role. Literally, that was his role. It was written. I don't know if it was written for him, but I mean, he played the character in the stage production, played the character in the film, and now everybody resonates with that character. Like, so if in case y'all want to know, some people consider it a horror film. I don't, but I mean, that's just me. And again, as a guy who doesn't really like musicals, it's got some kicking songs. The two famous songs in that musical are literally back to back in the same part of the film. I'll just give you a little like brief mention of the film. It shouldn't spoil too much in case your piques our interest. But if you feel like I don't want to listen to anything about it, you could either just end it from here or just fast forward a couple. I don't know how many minutes I'm going to be talking about this. Probably not even a lot. So maybe just like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I don't know. But this is where like our characters, Brad and Janet, are lost, and they run into they see the mansion, and their car broke down, and they're introduced by Riff Raff and Magenta. And they're asking him like, hey, like our car broke down and we need, we need some assistance and stuff like that. And during all of that, there's a party happening, a celebration, you will. And then that's when things start kicking off, because that's actually where the plot takes off. We're introduced to our characters early on in the film, because this is also a third story film. And if you don't know what a third story film or third story anything, it's just basically when somebody's narrating the entire plot of something. In this case, it's a crematorian. I believe that's what you call them. Hold on, I don't know how to pronounce these things right. Criminologist, which I believe is just somebody. Criminologist? Charles, let's just put it this way. The guy who's narrating the film is the actor. The actor's name is Charles Gray. So I believe, so I don't have to like say this right. I'm just going to say this. Charles Gray is narrating the entire film, especially when it comes to this song. So they go into this celebration, and this is the time. It's called Let's Do the Time Warp Again, or is it? Yeah, it's called the Time Warp. And that's like, anytime you think of Rocky Horror, you're going to think of the Time Warp, and you're gonna think of this next song. The Time Warp is just like a dance number that everybody does. But yeah, because it starts off with Riff Raff going like, it's astounding, time is fleeting, madness takes its toll. And that's, I think, as far as I can say, because I do not want to get copyright here. But it's just basically like it's man, how do you describe it? I'm gonna have to go a little bit more. So sometimes you hear the criminologist, or what was the actor's name again? Charles Gray. He'll just go, it's a jump to the left, and then it cuts to like the entire group saying, then you slide to the right, and then put your hands on your hip and put your knees in tight. And then again, I gotta control myself because I don't want to get copyright. But like once you hear somebody start it off, like I swear to you, if you go to a mall, just some random mall, there's a chance a lot of people who might know what the Rocky Horror Picture Show is. All you gotta do is just yell out, it's just a jump to the left, and I guarantee you 90% of that crowd is just gonna start doing the Time Warp. But it's like, again, that's that song, like Let's Do the Time Warp Again. And then the next film the next part, which is when we're actually introduced to Dr. Frankenfurter. So we're actually introduced to Dr. Frankenfurter with this song called Sweet Transvestite. Again, that's just another banger in this entire movie. It's just basically like an introduction, like this is who we're gonna follow for pretty much the entirety of the film, like who he is, like where he's from. He, like, literally the line goes, I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Again, some of these are very old terms nobody really uses anymore. And like, I know it's like people are like here like, this is some weird, like if you haven't heard of this, if you've never seen it, it's weird, like I said, and people love it because it's weird. Okay. Like I said, queer cinema near before its peak, but it's just basically, like I kind of said what it was, basically a scientist who wants to create themselves a husband. And another interesting song I kind of like in this film, and like if I was ever part of the stage production, one, I can't be because I don't know how to sing. I mean, y'all kind of already had to suffer through that already. But there's a song that had the late great Meatloaf, and I think it's called, okay, here it is. It's called Hoppatootie Bless My Soul. I really love rock and roll. The last part is just part of the song. But yeah, it's called Hoppatootie Bless My Soul. From a guy named Eddie, who's a delivery boy. Because like Meatloaf has the voice. First of all, if you never heard of Meatloaf, really great singer. He was a legend in rock and roll. He was actually at the same convention that I was at. I think they had to cancel his panel because I think something happened. I think like he was about to sit down. I think the chair slipped out or something and he just fell. And they said like the panel is going to be canceled just so, he can recover, which he said like it wasn't really bad or anything. Like he was able to get up, but I guess it's just like given his age and stuff like that, they just wanted to make sure, but he said he was fine. But, yeah, no, that song's actually a really good song. But it gets weirder and weirder, the film, which is why another reason why I can never explain it, because how weird the plot gets more and more until you actually get to the very end of where they're actually from. Like if you've seen the movie, you know where they're from. It's like that one song, it's like I'm your new commander. But yeah, like I said, it gets weirder. Again, this is why people love the film and the production. Like, I don't even think they care, like, how weird that this was gonna get. Come on, because literally, you just open up with a pair of lips. That's literally what you open up with in the film. It's just a pair of lips singing, welcome to, what's the song called? Science fiction double feature. Welcome to the late night double feature show. Yeah, which I think, if I can be sure, I think it was Jim Sharman who played Riff Raff that did the song, and then Patricia Quinn. It was Patricia Quinn who played Magenta. It was her lip. So it's still like they're still working together. That's still brother sister dynamic, even though they're not brother sister in real life. They're brother and sister in the film. It's still that dynamic working. Which, by the way, guys, in case you want to know, has nothing to do with Rocky, and because this movie came out a year before Rocky, and then obviously it was already a feature. It was already a stage production. So in stage production came out before the movie, so obviously this has nothing to do with Rocky, even though yes, there's a big muscular guy named Rocky in the production in the film, because like it's mainly like a parody of the Frankenstein-esque kind of story, and you do get some of those, especially a couple of years ago was Poor Things that came out. The Poor Things, majority of that usually just came from a 1927 film called Metropolis. Yeah. But that's what it, like, most of what I can give you about the plot. But like I said, if you're a fan of musicals, which I don't know how many people are nowadays, because again, I'm not a huge fan of musicals, neither is anybody else. But if you're a fan of weird stuff, this is definitely the movie for you, because like I said, this whole thing gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder, because the only normal part about this whole thing is when we're introduced to Brad and Janet. That's the only form of like normalcy we get, because when we enter the house of Frankenfurter, it just gets weird from there. But again, people like it because it's weird, and I was into it because it's weird, and for some of the music as well. But yeah, no, it's a classic film. Definitely gotta watch it. I'm gonna take another break right now, and we're gonna talk about more. All right, guys, and I'll get to the last segment of the podcast. I didn't realize that I was going to be making this short, though. I'm going to figure out how to expand so much, because I knew I was recording today. I forgot what I was going to talk about, because I said I was going to talk about Rocky Horror. And then when I was getting ready for today, I had a lot to do. And I was like, oh yeah, I was going to record. What was I going to record? Oh yeah, Rocky Horror. I did not prepare myself for this one. I mean, I thought I was going to talk about so much, because I talk like a lot, if you know what I mean. The only thing I can say is how I got introduced to this. And honestly, I can't even remember that either. I think it's like, maybe I was channel surfing. I was probably channel surfing, and I just see the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And I don't know, I guess my like teenage mind thought I was going to see some interesting things. Again, if you're a teenage boy, you get the form of interesting things. And then I just pressed onto it. I think it just started too, but I think I was also watching something else. So I'm like literally flipping the channel back to back. And every time I go back to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I was like, well, I'm just like questioning what is going on here, because it's starting to get weird. And I think like I just started from, what is it? Like literally from the time, like actually I think I just continued on from the Time Warp and, Sweet Transvestite. And then I was just like, I don't know, I think I just kind of like fell out of this, and I think I just turned it off. And I don't know what I did after that. I do remember like getting intrigued, seeing this, and then after like the Sweet Transvestite, I just didn't bother watching it again. And this was coming from I think it was called like Fox Movie Channel or something like this. It's like something with DirecTV. That DirecTV has, it's like they would show classic movies, with no breaks and uncensored, if you will. The thing is that like I've totally forgotten so much about it until my sister was watching. I think it was like a Halloween day. It was a Halloween day, and they were showing it for 24 hours. It's one of those things where, if you remember, it's like you know how like every year we get the Christmas Story 24 hours from 7 p.m. Christmas Eve to 7 p.m. Christmas Day. Though if you're Hispanic, you technically celebrate Christmas on Christmas Eve. But it was like that, but not really, because it wasn't a yearly thing. It was just like, I think, that year. So every time the movie ended, it starts right back up again, because again, it's on a loop. But apparently my sister knew about the movie long before I ever knew about it. So I figured, you know what, I'll just watch it again. And then I got hooked. And then again, I rarely see too much of this. But that's I think I thought it was very interesting. And then you know, I always think like who had a more, you know, feminine makeup, you know, Tim Curry or Joel Grey, because they're very two distinct different characters, but they're also two characters that are very openly sexual. Mainly Frankenfurter, because Joel Grey's MC wasn't as sexual as Alan Cummings' MC in Cabaret. And like I said, I'll explain it a lot more in a future podcast. But yeah, they've had some similarities, I'll tell you that. There was two, I don't want to say remakes. Like I said, nobody could ever remake this film. Yeah, nobody could ever remake it, because you know, it was made for Tim Curry, and that same cannot really be said about it, because they already remade that film, and we got the show still happening. Even though, yes, the 2017 was not a remake, it's technically an original film adaptation. Well, not original film adaptation. It's a first film adaptation, because the 1991 that had Tim Curry as well was a miniseries, a two-parter. Anyway, to my point here. So I know there was not sequels. It's like Fox was doing so every so often, I think like Fox, NBC, anything else, they like to do live stage productions or live productions. Basically what I mean is like Fox did Grease Live, where I think it had Vanessa Hudgens and as one of the characters, I don't know which one. And then NBC, you know, did The Wiz and The Sound of Music and Hairspray live in front of, like, you know, live with like multi cameras and stuff like that. And every time they would go on break, it would just be like an intermission and stuff like that. So Fox did the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Let's Do the Time Warp Again, that I know that had Victoria Justice as Janet and Laverne Cox as Dr. Frankenfurter. And I don't know how long this production's been. So I don't know if Laverne Cox is the very first trans person to ever portray the character. In case you already know this, Laverne Cox is a trans actress. I believe she came out in Orange is the New Black. I don't know what else she came out in, but like she was very, very big amongst you know, the LGBT community and the trans community and stuff like that. I haven't heard much from her in, I don't know, ever, but yeah, she portrayed Dr. Frankenfurter in the stage production. I want to see who else was there. So yeah, Tim Curry did come back for this one. He played the criminologist. You know, Reeve Carney plays Riff Raff. If y'all don't know, Reeve Carney, I used to watch a show called Penny Dreadful it used to be on Netflix. I don't know where it's at now. But he played Dorian Gray in the show, and he was really, really good. Stas Nair played Rocky Horror. I know Stas Nair from, what is it? Supergirl, I believe that's what it was. Adam Lambert played Eddie. Christina Milian played Magenta. Annalay Ashford was Columbia. Ryan McCartan was Brad Majors. And I think that's it. But it was like I said, it wasn't like a remake. This was just more of like it was like a live television production. That's what I've been trying to call it. A live television production. It's pretty common. They do this a lot. Like another one is like Jesus Christ Superstar that had John Lennon as Jesus. Yeah, it's just basic. Oh, it's directed by Kenny Ortega. That makes more sense. Nothing against Kenny Ortega. Kenny Ortega is a great director. I mean, directed all the High School Musical films. I know at one point he wanted to do Phantom of the Opera. I don't think he's ever said he was going to complete this. I know Guillermo del Toro is doing his version, but that's not the musical. That's like, I guess, going with the book. But so there was that one. And then there was what is the other one called? There was the live television production of Rocky Horror, and then during COVID, during the pandemic year, what is it called? I think it was a Democratic conference. I think it was a Democrat conference, but obviously because of the lockdown, they couldn't obviously perform. So what they did was they did an entire Zoom. It was like an entire Zoom production. That's a weird thing to say. An entire Zoom production, but then there was like productions in the Zoom calls, and it's hard to say. Hold on, let's look it up real quick. So it's all right. Here it is. It's called the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was a virtual fundraising event for the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. It was a live stream event that I'm just reading this off of Google. It was a live stream event called the Rocky Horror Show Halloween. Okay, y'all gotta word this better. The live stream event called the Rocky Horror Show Halloween live stream featured Tim Curry playing reprising his role as Dr. Frankenfurter. Though he can only say the lines, he couldn't really like do all the singing and the dancing and stuff like that. So let's see. I know who was it. What was his name? David Arquette did Eddie. And I know Neil Campbell came back as Columbia. There's a lot to this. If you ever want to look it up, you can actually look it up. It's actually still online. Let's see. Who else was in there? I think I saw Wilmer Valderrama playing Brad. And it's weird because it's like it's from, because I just skimmed through it. I didn't see the whole thing. All I remember was like there are times when like some of the actors would just be speaking the lines, and then somebody else would be singing the songs. So it's not like Wilmer Valderrama was also singing. He was just doing Brad's part when he's just talking to people, because I think they had like a different person. They had like multiple different people singing Dr. Frankenfurter's part. So hold on. Oh, here it is. So obviously Frankenfurter, Tim Curry, Columbia, Bell Campbell, Riff Raff, Seth Green. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay, so Seth Green and Rosario Dawson play Riff Raff and Magenta. Wilmer Valderrama, Colleen Ballinger, I don't know who that is. Lance Bass as Rocky. That's a very weird one. Jason Alexander, who played the criminologist. Eddie, like I mentioned, who played like I said earlier, David Arquette played Eddie. And then the music was, I'm just reading off this list here, Fall Out Boy, Bob Weir and Wolf Bros, don't know who that is. Mike McCready of Pearl Jam. I know Pearl Jam, but I mainly know Eddie Vedder, because Eddie Vedder is the frontman of Pearl Jam. The Dresden Dolls, don't know who they are. Miss Peppermint and Frankie Grande. I know who Frankie Grande is. That is Ariana Grande's brother, if y'all didn't know. Aiza Gonzalez, Ben Barnes. I think I know who Aiza Gonzalez is. I know who Ben Barnes is. Jenna Ushkowitz, don't know. Rachel Bloom, I think I know who that is. Garrett Clayton, Karen Olivo, Keela Seto, Marissa Jarrett Winker, Madison Uphoff, Graham Phillips, Kelleen Chase, and Rumor Willis. The rest I don't know. Like the ones I just called out after Ben Barnes, I've never heard of, but I think they were just the singing part of the production. Yeah, but I remember seeing like Seth Green as Riff Raff and Rosario Dawson as Magenta, and it was weird because it's like doing Zoom calls, like if y'all have ever heard me and Jesus before I even edit this thing down, before Rishi ever edits these things out, we've had hard times. Like we've had to wait seconds for one to communicate with the other. And like, again, if you know about Zoom, if you know like connection is very, very important. Sometimes it's weird. It's like we're used to the same beats. If for those who have seen the movie, we're all used to the same beat as the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you can get what I mean by beat, I don't mean like the beat of the music. I mean the beat as in like the breaks and the rest between one person and another person when it comes to a line. Basically what I mean is like we're used to the moment when Riff Raff speaks, and then when Magenta speaks, and then when Brad speaks. We're used to those little small moments. With Zoom it's different because we gotta wait for a longer time for that other person to speak. So it's like we're waiting 10 seconds for Rosario Dawson to say he's lucky, she's lucky, we're all lucky, somewhere around there. It's been a long time since I've touched on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But yeah, I know Glee probably did one, but I've never seen Glee, so I can't really know for sure. But it does have an impact. I remember I was watching Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 a long time ago, and the Laurie Strode of that film, her and her two friends were playing, they were dressed up as the characters. So Laurie Strode, who this one was played by Scott Taylor Compton, she was dressed up as Magenta, and then her two friends were dressed as Frankenfurter and Columbia. But But yeah, it's if you ever want to check it out, I mean, like I said, I saw it on not YouTube, Hulu, the film. I don't know if where you can see the Laverne Cox version. I think I saw it on Amazon for $9.99. Do me a favor, just don't spend your money. You just watch clips of it on YouTube. And then if you ever get interested in watching the what was it, the Zoom meeting, which like I said, the guys, I just skimmed through that, but it was a slog. Even just watching a little bit of it because it was a Zoom call. It wasn't even like for like, because I think it wasn't really for I guess like Joe Biden or whatever, or whoever was running for it wasn't like the like supporting Joe Biden or whatever. It was just basically like a fundraiser. But like I said, y'all should definitely check it out. It's a classic. I mean, it's like I would love to meet Tim Curry again, but I know that's never gonna happen. The one time is just the one time, and it was only like a couple of seconds, but I still cherish those couple of seconds. But yeah. Man, it's tough, especially when Tim Curry says he knows like his time is coming. But when that day comes, I'll definitely be mentioning it. Other than that, you guys are great. You've been a great audience. Have a good night, day, morning, whenever you listen to this. Signing off.